Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for May 21st, 2018. Please stand for invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think Bobby's going to lead us tonight. Thank you, Bobby.
Father God, we thank you for this day, God. We thank you how you continue to bless us and keep us. We ask you, God, to continue to watch over our city and keep your hedge of protection around us, Lord. Help us to do what you'd have us to do. Be with all of our city officials. Bless our council. Persons, be with them, watch over them, be with their families. Continue to guide their hearts, guard their minds, guard their health, Father God. Give them what they need. God, we ask you to please be with all the persons present tonight. Be with them. Thank you, God, for having a city who persons don't mind coming out to find out what's going on because they care about what happens to our city. God, collectively together, we all are one community, so we all want to make sure that all goes well. God, we ask you to bless our mayor, bless all the staff that works for our city. God, we ask you at this time to continue to watch over our schools, continue to protect them and keep them safe, God. You never know what's going to happen. Just because it happens other places, it can happen here. We pray for those families who are going through the suffering, going through the things that happen, the tragedies of those who have been harmed by someone in the schools or even in the communities. God, be with them, watch over them. God, we pray for your protection. Pray for your wisdom, Lord, that we'll understand how to deal with these situations, God, and not take for granted because we know that it can happen here. We ask you, God, be with our first responders, watch over them, continue to keep them safe, God. We thank you, God, that we have persons who don't run away from danger. They run toward the danger to protect us and look out for us. So, God, watch over them, protect them and their families. We ask it all in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bobby. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Sestavny. Here. Councilperson Yon.
Present.
Councilperson Hawkins.
Here.
Council President Gill.
Here.
Councilperson Ellis.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect 6 persons present.
Okay, I need a motion for the minutes for our regular proceedings from May 7th, 2018.
So moved.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Approve of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Claims to be approved. We'll start with the general.
I have 2 changes on page 1, close to the top, or the credit card is at $147.66. That is going to be removed. That's a redevelopment charge.
Heather, I'm sorry, which page?
Page 1,
Page 1, okay.
probably about the 6th one down or 7th one.
Yes, thank you.
And then I have 1 to add. It's $522 even, and that's for unemployment.
Okay, I do have a question, and I'm glad to see that Les is here, just to make sure that it was properly billed to him. You had billed, I know that Ann Langley did the claim, but it was for the food for the central alarm dispatchers, and it's billed under law. Is that where it needs to be, or is that a uh-oh, he's looking at me like, I don't know.
I'll look into that.
Well, I really think that needs to come, Ann Langley did the claim, so you need to look into that. I really think it needs to come out of the police department, especially if Les didn't know anything about it, that he would have had to sign off on it, I'm sure.
Right.
That's $139.70, Les.
Yep, I'll look into that.
It won't change our claims list, we just need to make sure that it comes out of the right thing, so.
Do you have a new total, Heather?
It's $512,832.87.
Thank you.
There's no further, all claims in order then?
Yes.
If there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve claims for $512,832.87.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve the amended change of the claims to $512,832.87. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Parks.
Parks is $274,611.34.
All claims in order.
Yes.
You don't have any questions on the motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve Parks claim of $274,611.34. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Report of the clerk.
Okay. Two quick things. Last week, I was on a panel for AIM up at the Clerk Treasurer's School, myself
Oh,
and
great.
4 other people, and they did kind of a trivia thing. We had to hit our little button, but it was on public records. It was on meeting dates and times. It was on audits. There was a group of things that it was on. It was a lot of fun, and I really appreciated them putting me on it. The other thing is, Matt Geller did talk about the council affiliated group. Your emails are on it. They're not up and running yet. You won't have anything until probably for the annual meeting in September is when they're going to start working on it. I'd asked him about a committee. He said there's nothing right at this time, that is strictly just getting the emails, and they did tell me that all your all's emails were on there.
Well, thanks for verifying that. I appreciate that.
Just to add to that, so the focus group that I was on for that, they said that within the next year they plan on having similar sessions. So like Vicki attended the clerk treasurers, we'll be having focus group meetings for council members in different parts of the state. So that is coming underway in the next year.
Okay, good deal. So we'll move on to old business, and we have, I don't think, is Paul here tonight? Okay, well, it needs to be passed on the third and final reading. It is 2018 OR 26 is where he's asking for the cash change funds.
I'll make a motion to approve 2018 OR 26 on the third and final.
Second.
Nothing has changed in this.
Just the addition of the $30 petty cash from my collection.
Okay, got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 26 and the third and final. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, Heather, we do have the public hearing tonight, but this is the additional appropriation for the 2018 OR 27, and since we do have a full house, I think we need to go through.
Sure. Oh, I don't have my breakdown, I don't believe. Maybe I do. Yes, I do. We have proposed for sidewalks on Plank Road, $350,000 coming from the general and $350,000 coming from MVH. It's probably going to jump around from what's up there. We have 2 salt trucks coming from the MVH Street Fund, a Packer coming from sanitation, and 2 pickup trucks for the MVH Street Fund. The request for an East End Park, $2,200,000 from the general. There's $700,000 from Parks, and then another $700,000 from redevelopment. And then we are appropriating the cash that's in the sidewalk fund. That would be $1,155,262. So that's appropriating the cash that will be transferred into there for New Chapel and Plank Road. And then a deceleration lane on 10th Street for $55,000. And then there's also $462,500 for land.
Sure. Does council have any questions before I open up to public hearing? Okay, so this time I'm going to officially open up public hearing. If anybody's here to speak for or against any of the items here in the additional appropriation, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing none, I will officially close public hearing. I will go ahead and entertain a motion, unless there's any further questions.
So moved.
Well, and I will second, but I did want to let the council know, there was some discussion last time about how we don't have any land yet, and yet we're setting this money aside. I just left before coming here, I left the River Ridge monthly meeting, and River Ridge passed a resolution in which they that expressed that they were intending to give the city of Jeffersonville for the express purpose of a park only, 105 acres, total donation, which will bring the total, because Dan Christiani, a developer of Crystal Springs, is giving a little bit of land, and wastewater, I believe, is donating a few more acres, which will bring the total acreage to 114, with even, River Ridge highlighted a potential for even a substantial amount more than that in the future. Once we kind of bite this and be able to digest this, we could look in years from now into perhaps pursuing even more. So that part of the River Ridge meeting went very well. There was another part that didn't go quite so well, which I'll get to in a minute. But as it pertains to that park, I also wanted to kind of we did a little research, the mayor's office did. There are 1,600 residences within 1.5 miles of where that park will be located. So that is an area that is devoid of any park other than Worley, which is across 62 and more of a sports complex, where this park is envisioned to be more of a nature preserve-ish, maybe I'm not using the right word, preserve setting, but that is really an enormous void for a lot of people that live there, including the people that work at River Ridge. So I just wanted to pass along that River Ridge did in fact pass a resolution to give that land to the city of Jeffersonville.
Let me go ahead and acknowledge the motions on the floor, and then I'll ask for any further discussions. I think you have something you wanted to say. So I got a motion and you were kind of looking like you were...
I was just going to add that Perrin Park is about 100 acres, correct?
Perrin Park is less than 100.
So just as a comparison, that's all I was going to say.
Community is just around a little over 100, to give you an idea of how large of an area we're talking about.
That's all. Sorry, Lisa.
All right, so I got a motion and a second to pass on third and final reading, 2018 OR 27. Any other further discussion?
Yes, one more thing.
Go ahead.
I just for the interest of a lot of people who are here regarding the piece of property at the corner of Worley Road and Charlestown Pike, this is the final reading for the money to be available to be able to get that land. So with this vote, hopefully we'll be able to start solving the drainage problems and issues that we've had in that district.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, girl. Kelly, we got an ordinance regarding the nonprofit donations, and do you have anything to give us tonight on that? Or not?
Yeah, so spoke with our attorney, and the plan is, so we're on the same page in terms of what we're drafting, and we have draft verbiage in place. And Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal is to have final copies for our next meeting, correct?
That's correct. And I'll send them all out and email, and you guys can...
Now remember, I need a Word doc.
And I don't know if the council would like me to just review what those two ordinances that will be on the docket are.
Yes, please.
So the first will be an ordinance that proposes to halt the funding of nonprofit organizations altogether, with the exception of some nonprofit organizations that have line items within our budget already. So that includes, nonprofits that are under the scope of the city, like Jeff Main Street and City Pride, some of those that had been earmarked. The second option will suggest the use of $20,000 of the gaming revenues that we collect that currently go into our special projects fund to intake applications from nonprofit organizations biannually. So having twice a year the process being opened for nonprofit organizations to apply for funding up to $1,000 for any projects that are not operational costs. And the council will review those. Applications will be due May 1st and November 1st, so we have an entire month to review those before a lot of nonprofits have their fiscal budgets created. So that's what those two ordinances will outline, and we should have those for our next council meeting in the...
And how would you foresee, will they be presented in a certain order, or will it just kind of get a feel through open discussion in a public meeting of which one we prefer, or how do you...
Yeah, so my vision, I suppose, would be just to have an open discussion and have both available so we can move forward on it, since it's been something that we've been discussing for quite some time. those two options came about from several discussions that I've had with council members to really include. Certainly, we can make adjustments to either one of those if we see fit, but I'd prefer just to have an open discussion. I think most of us probably know how we feel about it one way or the other, but I wanted to present both options.
And this was discussed in not this past finance committee meeting, but prior, and that was a public meeting. Minutes are, so if anybody's interested, we do have minutes that were approved at this last meeting for it, so it's kind of, she's stating what came out of that. But since technically we don't have an ordinance, then we need to go ahead and table this.
And also, real quick, Madam President,
Yes.
I need those ordinances by May 30th, next Wednesday, by noon. Or I can't.
It's a challenge.
It's a statement.
Okay.
It's a statement if they want them on.
Send them to you at midnight on the email, 12:30, this is May 30th.
Now, motion to table.
Just a comment first. We need to make sure and think, after we get it to read it, think it through really well, because, for example, the Little League, when they go to state or go national, they always come at the very last minute and say, can you help sponsor the team from Jeff? And we all want to do that. I don't want to tie our hands where we can't help them with some travel, if that's the intent.
That might need to be added language.
Yeah, I just want us to think about, there may be another circumstance like that is really promotes Jeff, and that certainly does, but
Well, yes, I agree. And, part of it too, I think, is looking at what is considered a promotion for the city of Jeffersonville, which is a discussion I don't necessarily want to open up at this time, but that was another comment that was made to me in all this process is, what does it mean to promote the city of Jeff? And that's additional funding as well. So I'm looking specifically at the special projects, which we have as under the council budget, but don't currently use for very many things, except for these random ad hoc nonprofit appropriations. But that might be another thing to consider. Maybe we earmark something from promotions where cases like that would apply for promoting the city. So.
motion to table.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. So we'll move on to new business, which we have the ordinance repealing ordinances 2015 OR 23, 2013 OR 8, 2011 OR 6, 2010 OR 27, 2009 OR 29, and authorizing the city officials to use credit cards for official government purchases and establishing a credit card usage policy. Woo! Even though that says police, but it's policy. I just caught that. We sent out the ordinance that we discussed in length at the last finance committee.
Let's see, please. Okay.
And what will the ordinance number be for this?
29.
I just need to get Larry's opinion on this. Everything was taken, it's not in our packet, the colors though. Everything was taken from State Board of Accounts. Anything that, basically what you have tonight shows the ordinance as exists.
Yeah.
And if anything was removed, you could see because it has the line going through, it was kind of struck out. And anything that was added was highlighted. And we did have the opportunity during that finance committee meeting to really talk with Heather, and she gave a lot of good, advice and opinion on.
It's on color on the monitor.
Oh, okay, it's colored up there. So Larry, did you get a chance to review?
No, absolutely, and it accomplishes what it is I think you all are trying to do, cleans up some of the issues that you had, some of the questions that you had, and it looks as though that it would add the requirements that you want to add in the accounting function and the oversight function. So based on my understanding what you want to achieve, this document and this ordinance would achieve that.
Credit card ordinance?
Yes. So it, should be ordinance 29, so I'll entertain a motion, or you need any more questions or clarification for either us or for Heather? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to pass 2018 or the 29
Yes,
on the
sir.
first reading.
First reading only? Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion to pass 2018 OR 29 on the first reading. Is there any further discussion or questions or comments?
I do have just a did you have your?
I was going to nod.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, with the presumption that this is passed, what is our strategy for disseminating the changes in the information? Are we going to just use department heads to communicate that down, or?
Well, it's on public document, so everybody can get it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll,
Okay.
yeah.
I know that's been something that we've talked about before is communicating our credit card policy, so I just was curious if we've been thinking about that already.
Right, and then the bit is we're just pulling into this ordinance the public safety emergency credit card, so we have it all right here, and it's easier for Heather to track and enforce things, so.
Also,
Go ahead.
well, it might be easy or as well to maybe put a, I don't know, show my age, the nutshell version of what this says. I think it can be put into 10 points that may be easier than expecting somebody to read all of this and understand. And the other question that came up, I forgot to ask. Talk about the bonus points and the bonus points accruing and all that. Does somebody keep track of whether you all have credit cards that are payback the percentage of?
I think there's some I think our regular credit card, if I'm not mistaken, does not have bonus points.
Okay.
But you have Menards and other places like that may have sort of a bonus.
I was just curious. Because if you got flight miles,
Can-
I'm always interested.
Les, have we had some issues with?
I'll use that for NLC.
Oh, my God.
And this addresses that?
Discussion, still.
It's still discussion, yeah.
Just a couple comments. In number 5, paragraph 5, where it talks about can't be used within 50 miles for meals and with just one or two exceptions. That's not really our current practice.
Right,
And-
that's where the change will be.
And I guess my question, do we want to say, no, you can't, if you're a department head or somebody in the city, you can't pay for somebody's lunch? I know that can get out of hand, because I think there was some concern about that originally, but do we want to?
I think that the way that I interpret this is that that's not an allowable expense, that you can still do that. It's just that you can't do that on the city credit card.
You can do reimbursed,
Okay.
which State Board of Accounts does.
Okay.
Now the mayor is accepted from this because he is the administrator,
No, I-
and
and I
he
agree
has all
with
his
I think
meetings
as
with
long
the
as there's still an avenue for that
Yeah, because I think there are times that
Yes, there
might be
is. It's not
appropriate.
that- Yes.
And that's
Still
something that
allowable
we
expense.
discussed in the
It's
finance.
No, with the credit cards. Okay.
My next question or comment is on page 3, which is the end of paragraph 9, where it talks about tax forms are required. And just coming from a not-for-profit, I've been there for years, there are some places that when you go, if you need to charge something, they won't take your tax exempt certificate. They won't do it. And so at that point, we just, we'll document, wouldn't take or whatever. And that
Right,
solves
we-
it for the audit.
right,
but-
well,
But
we
you
had-
do pay tax.
Right, well, we addressed that because there's a lot of hotels and things that won't take out the fees. We addressed that with Heather, and I also addressed it with State Board of Accounts. In situations like that, because we're not supposed to taxes, we will just make that note in an email or whatever, be attached to that claim, or I will write it or initial or whatever after Heather. We will have that documentation on the claims.
Should we-
So, because we do know that
Yes.
because that was the first thing that Heather brought up.
And from that standpoint, though, where it says, the last sentence, I guess it is, the city will take all necessary steps to obtain reimbursement of the charges which do not meet audit requirements. If there's a way to meet those audit requirements, then you're not going to go back to the employee that tried to do it. I just want to make sure we're not putting Heather or the mayor, somebody in an awkward spot where
That's why we
say, no,
included
it's $2
Heather
a
and went
tax.
through this line by line with her.
Yeah, we do the best we can. If there are employees that have non-detailed receipts, they have to reimburse
All
them
right, yeah, I
to the city.
concur with that.
Yes.
And that was language from State Board of Accounts.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are moving on to Heather. You have an additional appropriation, and we'll have a public meeting on 6/4 of 18. And I did send out a email. This is basically where, as you all know, the administration moved code enforcement out from underneath the planning and zoning. Code enforcement is now under the building commissioner's office, so we are moving that budget from planning and zoning and putting it under the building commissioner, so it's kind of like a wash, but it's good accounting and good accountability, in my opinion. Did I leave anything out?
Yeah, no, you did good. The only thing, the salary ordinance will be changed at the next time we change salary ordinance, just because, just so it's not brought up all,
Yeah.
constantly. Yeah.
Right.
We'll just wait and do that
Wait
when,
till
if we
July,
have it in the next thing.
August, yeah.
The ordinance number 30, correct?
Yes.
It's a net zero of the whole.
Motion to approve 2018 OR 30 on the first and second.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 30 on the first and second. Any further discussion?
Quick comment.
Sure.
It used to be that code enforcement was under, was it the, I'm sorry, where we put it?
It was under building commission before.
Yeah, it was under there before, and we had issues, and I just hope that doesn't happen again. And the issues come to be that planning and zoning are the ones who receive the applications for different buildings and different signage and different plans, and then they approve the plan, and then 6 months later, a year later, something's created or built, and it's not to standard. And planning and zoning have skin in the game because they were there to approve the plan, they were there throughout the process, and so they seem to be very interested in making sure that those folks thought through. And I've already had conversations with planning and zoning director, and I hope everything continues to work.
And especially since they're right there together, and of course Nathan is here. Nathan and Larry work hand in hand, and so do all the ones in the office. They've been helping each other out because he's been so overwhelmed. So I think we'll be fine. I think this, and of course this was the administration's decision to do this, so we just want to make sure that everything is accountable and good accounting.
I just want to throw a little history out because it's bounced back and forth, and why it bounced back and forth in the past.
I appreciate
that. Thank you.
All-knowing.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Les Merkley, this is the ordinance of amending the City of Jeffersonville zoning ordinance 2000 OR 61, which will be OR 31 now, correct?
Yes.
I will defer to Nathan Pruitt to present this.
Okay.
And it'll be the public hearing and one reading.
Perfect. So if I could just elaborate real quickly, just to give you some confidence and that things will still be taken care of. And we had a conversation, obviously, earlier about this, but there are 3 things that still my office, the planning department, will take care of if you see any issues with or have a question about. So use violations. So is it a permitted use or not? We will still be enforcing that with our planning staff. Signage is also going to be under our purview, and landscaping. So if those 3 items come up, that's under us. Anything that's individual property related with trash or, vandalism and things like that, or vehicles, definitely call the building commission and talk to the code enforcement officer. So it's kind of a split between residential and commercial.
Just to be clear, so like overgrown grass, things like that, that's landscaping or?
No.
Okay.
And I should clarify, so landscaping means a commercial business that has developed and they've let their landscaping go.
Okay.
Something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. But if it's tall grass or weeds or vegetation that's overgrown in a residence, that's definitely going to be code enforcement.
Okay.
Okay. So tonight we have a proposal that was passed by Plan Commission, favorably recommending a change to our zoning ordinance. And it looks at 2 zoning districts currently, the Neighborhood Industrial District and also Industrial 2, which is our heavy industrial and industrial park. And if you think about properties that fall under these categories, these tend to be, neighborhood industrial is kind of an oxymoron. You don't usually put industrial uses in neighborhoods. The reason it exists is because obviously before the invent of separate zoning districts where you really push residential really far away from other uses, they were within our community, right? So in downtown you had Jeff Boat, you had Foul Oil, there's Kitchen Compact, there's America Place. You see where I'm going with that. So there are legacy industrial uses that happen to be where they are. and we have to come up with a district for that. So that's why that exists. Industrial 2, that generally is things like, it's generally industrial facilities that cause some type of external issue, whether that be noise or dust. That's another word. That's the word I was looking for. I was thinking pollution, but that's not the best word. We don't want that. So dust and things like that. So if you think about that, that's things like quarries, asphalt plants, concrete facilities, grain storage, outdoor storage of kind of salvage yards, things like that. Not the best uses that you want in your backyard. They need to be in more industrial areas. So what we did is we basically have been looking at our zoning code for a while. There's some things that it's falling behind in on uses. There are things that are just not listed at all. So when we have an inquiry, we don't know what to tell them where to go because they're not listed in our zoning code. So that's things like salvage yard or recycling centers. We've had a recycling center come to us in the past. And so we just don't have those. So if you look at this, we looked at neighborhood industrial specifically, and the goal of this is basically to allow certain uses to come in that could be transitional. So if an industrial facility kind of starts waning, I can't get this microphone right. If an industrial use starts waning away, then there could be conversions to something more interesting, right? So if you think about America Place, they actually have a CrossFit facility within America Place. I don't know if you all knew that. It's a very industrial, do you know? Ed knows. So there's that, there's a pallet bulk store, there's office space, there's storage. It's kind of that weird transitional uses that you don't really think about being there, but they work actually really well. So in neighborhood industrial, we expanded those offerings as permitted uses, things like microbreweries, CrossFit center, museums, artisan center, wholesale business, things like that, so that if there were examples of that want to come in, they can do so, but also it takes into account what's already happening at America Place. So it's taking something that's non-conforming and making it conforming because we like that direction as a city. And then the second thing that's on here is in Industrial 2. If you look at the very, very back page of the 4-page staff report, we're adding 4 uses. And again, that's the things I mentioned earlier: recycling centers, salvage yards, and things like concrete plants. They have to go somewhere. We have to allow them. Otherwise, we get into lawsuits. So this is the best place for those. So it's just some housekeeping to kind of get us in a better place with our industrial uses looking forward.
I know this is housekeeping, but Larry, I have a question for you, because you're our attorney and we're the ones that are approving the city council. Where in the bold, if you look on page 3 of 4, in the neighborhood industrial special exception uses, we're adding the filling and gas station. It has the asterisk beside it, which depicts that it was added per 2016-045. I asked this in planning and zoning, was told no, but just to follow up here. We will not have anything contradiction, or because you know the action that we took with the gas stations within the mile. So we're not contradicting anything, everything's fine. I just want to bring that up. Okay. Because like I said, what we're adding in here, I want to make sure we're not giving this mixed signal. Say, wait a minute, you just passed this, did a moratorium, now you're adding it. So, all right, I appreciate that. All right.
Could you change it?
There are only additions, correct? There's been no subtractions?
There are subtractions, and if you look under page 3 of 4, there is a list of subtractions from neighborhood industrial. Those are the ones that have been removed.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for you, Nathan.
Yes.
I'm looking at neighborhood industrial, and in my mind, I have a vision of what that looks like and where those are in the city. And notice one of the things that we added, and we also added in I-2, which I have a vision of what that looks like, which is different than my first vision. And they both have salvage yard. That is not a phrase that anybody would enjoy telling their constituency that that's going in. Why is that also in neighborhood? And I understand it has to go somewhere. Wouldn't I-2 be...
Can you point it out?
Yeah, page 3, NI, special exception uses, business auto sales, let's go back.
It should not, be, I don't see it listed there. I only see it listed under I-2.
And then I-2 salvage yard.
It is only listed under I-2 special exception.
Well, then, that is the answer I wanted to do in the first place. So good. Oh, I see what I've done. I see what I've done.
Yeah, those two sheets, 3 and 4, look kind of similar.
So this is OR 31. So if there's no more further questions or comments for Nathan, I will entertain a motion.
No, public hearing.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forget that for the add amendments. My apologies. I'll officially open up public hearing for 2018 OR 31. If anybody wants to speak for or against this amendment, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I'll officially close the public hearing. Now I will entertain a motion. Thank you.
Motion to pass 2018 OR 31.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 31. Just want to make sure there's no further comments or questions because, like I said, this only takes one reading. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any attorney comments or reports tonight?
May 30th, noon. That's all I have to say.
May 30th at noon. Okay.
May 30th.
I heard you. And I will make sure it happens.
I'll set an alarm on my
All
phone.
right. Do we have any department heads that, okay, Nathan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council. Just a 30-second update on the Spring Street project, which we are under design work right now on. We had an hour-and-a-half meeting with United Consulting, who is the engineer for the project, the design engineer, and they are at 30% completion of plans. Generally, you do a 30, 60, 90% check-in to make sure everything's moving correctly and you don't have any major course corrections. That's, again, for the public, the 3-block section, roughly, in Claysburg from Eastern down to about 14th Street, I believe, or let's see, it's Riddle, down to about 14th Street. So we are projecting an estimated bid in August for the project to go under construction hopefully September 1st with completion in 3 months by the end of November. There may be a 10% or so completion that may have to happen in the spring after winter ends, which is mainly anything to do with landscaping or anything green. But the good news is we're on track. The designs look really good, and they're on track. And if you want an update on the other portion, which is the Dutch Lane sidewalk, I'll have to defer to Andy, but that is under wraps as well. It's working its way forward at the exact same time. But that's in-house design.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
That's all I got.
No other department head? So then we will go into public comment. Is there any public comment?
None.
None. Then I'll move to council comments, but before we go individually, we do want to set up a workshop to which we can discuss the pay grades, the AHS, and we can discussing that. I know as I just pulled up that Callie gave a list of availability. Wednesday, May 23rd at 12. I'm packed full of meetings that day, so I can't make that Wednesday, but we got Thursday, May 24th at 10 a.m. or Thursday, June 14th at 5 p.m. The Thursday, the June 14th at 5 p.m. is my only availability, but I didn't know how that looked for the rest of the...
I'm not available the June 14th meeting.
Gotta get the advertisement.
Oh, yeah. But I just wanted to see if any of these dates work, so before we have to go to our calendars and try to pick a date.
Is there a reason we're not going to do it on a Monday night?
So we can do it on a Monday night. When I talked to Kim earlier, she just wanted to, oftentimes when we have a workshop prior to a meeting, we don't take action at that following meeting, and she was concerned about trying to get this discussed before we discuss the budget, so, which would be, like late July, which does give us a little bit of time, but I think that's why she was encouraging us to meet beforehand. So, I mean, we can certainly look at June 18th and then have it maybe approved in July.
Just remember that first meeting in June, we're having our field trip to Bissing Park.
Correct.
I just
So it'll push
just know
us to
that
the second
most
meeting.
of us have Monday nights blocked out, and that's what I was...
Yeah. So we can
rather than-
certainly do it at that time, and...
Vicki, will your office be
Will you be here the 18th?
June the 18th, we should be fine.
Yes.
I do want, if we are as well, I know that that meeting could get lengthy depending on how many things we pile into it. So I do want to be cautious of that as well. If we're, there's several other things that we might try to throw into one workshop, so just be cognizant of time for that.
What time do you want to start the council workshop?
I was going to suggest 5, but if we need to go earlier than that.
No, it's kind of hard. We've got to get ready.
5 o'clock, okay? 5 o'clock.
So, and can we just detail what will be, so we're going to have the pay grades discussion.
We're going to discuss the pay grades, and I really want to discuss, because I think that was the whole, I thought that was the whole reason, I want to have a discussion on the employees that are capped out. And I know it's been going for a while that several employees, they even came to our finance committee meeting, the possibility of us providing something for AHS, the high deductible savings plan, retirement. And I think if we can get all that done, can you think of anything else you want to put for that?
What did you just say about the high deductible?
The high deductible, several employees have approached us and want us to entertain that if we would offer some seed money, since we've done it for police and fire. They're not saying, the 1,000, I think was 1,000 we did for it, and then 750 for the other plan, but to entertain that idea, because I said there's a lot of employees, especially in the street department, that would like to go to that, but they can't afford, kind of the same thing along, because they said that police and fire, that they understand their collective bargaining, but they would just like an opportunity to come to us and have a discussion with us to see if that's something we will entertain.
What I'll just say is, in terms of the capped employees, so there are probably 4 or 5 other items related to the pay grades and pay ranges that we discussed, and the recommendation from our consultant was to not do anything with the capped employees, and there were several different opinions based on the committee members of how to move forward with that. So that's why we felt like we should wait for a full council discussion to discuss that separately. So that's why it had been kind of advertised as separate. So I think it is just, we can do 2 hours and see what that looks like. I just know that there's a lot. Heather will back me up.
A lot of discussion just on the salary.
Pay grades.
Pay grade, the longevity.
Well,
I think that,
but ideally, I mean, if we can get since we have, almost 3 weeks to review this before that workshop date, we can get a lot of those questions discussed and beforehand, so we all have time to prepare for the workshop.
Well, what we don't get to, we'll just have to schedule another one, but I want to get, especially the salary ordinance, the pay grades, and the longevity.
is not as pressing, I think, as the salary grade.
If just a thought too, is if it looks like we're nearing the end, but not close to the end, we could adjourn the meeting and then finish after the city council meeting.
Yeah.
It makes it longer, but
Yeah, because we can't go till 7 o'clock, which, she said we have the 2 hours, which we don't, because she has to get ready and...
Right. Yeah, that's
rather
another.
than calling a new meeting, I mean,
That's
we're
another option.
halfway through, it's different, but
Well, and also knowing that this discussion, again, we want to have it in order before,
Yeah.
so we can update our salary ordinance and the salary administration policy before we start budget session, so. All right, so so June 18th, and for the members that aren't here, I'll make sure I communicate that. So.
Thank you. And so Larry, will you please handle the advertisement for that? Do we have to advertise that it may happen that...
Yes, I mean, so here's what I'm saying.
Okay, tell us.
We're suspenders and the belt in this world that you live in. Committee meetings need to be advertised, and if you don't have them, then you advertise and you cancel. Any meeting that you think you may have, you need to advertise, and if you don't have it, you can cancel.
So should we just advertise, I don't know how times work, like 5 to midnight, and just advertise it as that to be protected? Well, no, I'm not saying that, but we don't know when the council meeting will adjourn and when that second committee meeting might.
Advertise it as immediately following the
Okay.
council meeting. And if you decide you don't want to, then you just don't have it. Because
You could recess it without advertising it.
you can recess and reconvene your normal meeting, yes.
that's what
So you recess and reconvene, so you really don't have to.
That's why I pay you the big
So
bucks,
you will
Larry.
handle
Tell me
that
it's
too.
yours.
All right.
You just have to have the workshop advertised and like, Councilperson White says you can.
Just want to make a statement. I don't want to be here till midnight. I feel like that's not what I
Oh,
was
I
trying to
can't
communicate.
council meetings till midnight.
I think
Okay,
this council has
so-
been to meetings until 10:30, 11,
So we established that, well, our main focus is going to be the pay grades, the cap, and the longevity. So that'll be advertised. So we will now move on to the individual council comments, and we will start with Councilperson White. Just to make a comment for your district, I'm so glad to see those Court Avenue medians done and finally being addressed. And well, I think this week, I know Andy said 1 minute you're going to see a big, I think they're going to be finishing up here with not this week, the next. But
Well, we had Abbey Roll in the River, so I'm excited about that. Peace, love, and harmony. The summer concert series beginning. So, come down District 1 for fun. Nothing else.
okay. Councilperson Z.
And excited about plank sidewalks, Spring Street sidewalks, and reducing flooding in my district, so that's all.
Councilperson Yan.
My main thing was just addressing that that workshop. I did send out a printed copy. Just the first page is just really a summary of some of the decisions or recommendations that the committee is making. And then you have a full copy of the recommendations from Liz Gross, our consultant, and then followed with the new proposed pay ranges. And also I made sure to include the financial impact that we'll see in each department so that you guys have that. If you have any questions about that or anything specifically, a lot of discussion took place getting to that point. I think we had a total of four meetings. So I can tell you a little bit more about the behind if you're wondering why we arrived at that decision. Additionally, I want to give some recognition to one of our police officers, Scott McVoy, graduated from LSI's Engage class last Thursday, which is a leadership program. It takes about 8 months to complete. And I think he was a class favorite from some of the laughter that was surrounding his graduation. So I wanted to congratulate him again on the record. That's all I have. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'll be out of the country for 2 weeks starting this Friday, so I will be missing our next council meeting. I will be available via email and can answer some of the discussion questions surrounding this. And Lisa, I'll just be in touch with you about anything on our June 4th agenda that we need to discuss.
And now you said that you will let the Maples and Council.
Yep, I'll let
Will
them
you
know.
also let Kim know?
Yes.
Okay,
I will.
thank you. Councilperson Hawkins.
One, I would like to let everybody know that something else that was voted on in that River Ridge meeting today was the mayor had proposed to receive funds from River Ridge for an additional crew of firemen in Station 4, and that was denied by the River Ridge Board. That we are, I don't think, over with the discussion and finding ways to get funding for that, but the flat-out ask for them to chip in for the services we provide them was denied. But on a happier note, I have some kudos I would like to give out, and perhaps I'm giving them to the wrong people. I apologize, but I was fortunate enough to be able to attend Bruce Diark's fundraiser on Friday, and I believe Joe Hurt and Chief Hedrick, if anybody else was involved in that, it was absolutely a fantastic event. Hundreds of people were there, and they raised a substantial amount of money back in one of our finest. And then on that was Friday. Saturday, I got to go to Super Spencer fundraiser. The child of a couple of employees of Greater Clark County Schools was also diagnosed with a very serious health issue, and hundreds of people were in New Washington High School with that fundraiser. So it was just back to back, like just the community coming together. It was a very positive experience at both of them. And when you throw in, you had the 22 challenge, a Big Four Bridge, Relay for Life was last week, and I'm sure every weekend there's just these kinds of things happening, but I was just happened to be a part of them, and I just wanted to say, good job us. Like Jeffersonville, I really felt like it was a community that was all coming together for some pretty serious challenges. And I just thought I should say thanks to the city, and thanks for the people for organizing.
All right. Councilperson Ellis.
Yes, first I would like to thank the council and Vicki for the expressions of sympathy for the passing of my stepmother at the last meeting. I was pretty wore out and pretty bummed out on that day, and I really didn't have much to say, or I couldn't think of much to say. But I thank you for your expressions of sympathy on that day. And for the people of our city that think that we have traffic problems going up 10th Street and that the roads are bad, last weekend I was in Atlanta. And if there is bad traffic, my granddaughter graduated from Georgia State last weekend.
Congratulations.
And we was in a hotel, the northeast part of the city, and I thought I'd left in plenty of time to get to Turner Stadium, and in an hour and a half I was still stuck in Atlanta traffic. Young people may be able to take that. I'm getting to be an old man. I can't take that type of traffic. That's all I have.
Did you make it to the graduation?
Yep, made it to the graduation. There was a lot of other people like me that was slow and stuck in traffic.
Good thing her last name wasn't Adams.
Yeah. Councilperson Samuel.
Yes, just this past weekend was a great weekend for public art in Jeff. We had Shakespeare in the Park on Friday night, I believe it was. I'm not really a Shakespeare guy, but there's a lot of people there that were, and it was threatening rain. They even almost called it off, actually, but there was over 100 people there. So I thought that was really nice. And that facility in Big Four Park is wonderful, that little atrium thing. And then Saturday, there was a ribbon cutting at the floodwall murals down right across from the former Rockies for Hoosier Hardware. And that was really a neat experience because many of the previous owners came back for that. There's one gentleman there named Bob. Now he has white hair, has gained a little weight, but he's driving the truck in the picture as a young man. And it was really neat to see that his family was there, and a lot of family was around. So it was a really neat thing, and Hoosier Hardware is a staple of our community. So that was kind of a fun, positive weekend.
That's really good. We have a gracious invitation from our attorney that he passed out, and in the back, he does have an RSVP by June 20th, so if you all would show him the courtesy of that, especially since hospitality is extended to us, I appreciate that.
That's June 20th.
We did, should have said it should have been the meeting prior, but we had Police Week that was all last week, and we kind of should have said something at our last meeting, but we do appreciate JPD. I do. Westmoreland is here every meeting. We do appreciate that, and we are very, very proud of our police department, and I'm very proud of the fact that I too attended Friday night, and I love the way that our police and fire, they like to have fun with each other, but boy, they sure got each other's back, because there was as many police officers there, and even state police officers that were there, all to support Bruce, and I think it was very well attended. And I do have a question. You said that the talks will be going on because they went to a vote and it did not pass for the $1 million. If there's any discussion moving forward, because I know that you've been going to those meetings and it's your district, that maybe you're going to counter and say, hey, not whatever, if you just keep the council, because that's an important piece too, because that's another workshop that once we get some more information, we'll have to schedule, because the chief did come to us requesting the help with the 12 firefighters. So if there's any kind of more discussions going on, that maybe they'll take less than the $1 million, or if you would just please keep us
all of
abreast
those
of
will
that.
be dictated. I don't want to misrepresent my role. My role is as a rather large cheerleader and not really a participant, so I will certainly pass along, but I do try to attend so I can pass along whatever transpires.
And I don't know if anybody, I know I was there, but the Kroger's in its current location will be closing its doors tomorrow at 4. I got a lot of great deals. I stood in line forever. But it's an early ribbon cutting, but they will be opening up Wednesday morning at 8. I think the ribbon cutting, is it at 7:30? 8. Okay, but at least they expand, they are staying in the area. So if and I also think that if you all can make, I know I got received an invitation, and I know the mayor's office did send us out an email that you do have to let Christy know if anybody can attend that Tuesday night, was it 5 from what was the time?
5
for
to
that?
7.
5 to 7. They do need to know who will be attending from the council. So if you think you can attend that night, just kind of look around the store before it opens, and I think there'll be some samples there, and Leo's like special invitation. So I think we just got Nathan to say he will be attending. So please let Christy know, because she does have to give them the list of names. So, and by that, that's all I have, and I will entertain a motion. Oh, I do want to say, I know, Becky, that you've been here for all the meetings. We will address the capped out thing. That will be June 18th at 5, so mark your calendar. And I do know that we had quite a few that had left that were here, that were that's in the Waverly watershed. We have quite a few that's here from Gulfview, and I've seen quite a few smiles on the face. And we've been fighting this battle for a while for drainage, so hopefully we'll be getting some resolve for you all. And by that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.